Okay, so you want to own a salon. Rent a storefront. Put in some chairs and mirrors higher. A few stylists watch the appointments roll in. That's the plan in your head, and it's not a bad plan. Walk into any busy salon on a Saturday afternoon, and it looks like the easiest business in the world. Every chair is full. One stylist is blow-drying, another is foiling. Highlights someone at the front. Desk is juggling 3 phone calls and a walk-in. You watch that scene, and you think this place must be printing money. More chairs, more clients, more money. Simple. Here's the problem. You are looking at the one afternoon of the week it lies to you the most. The truth is that a salon is not really a beauty business. It is a real estate and labor arbitrage business that happens to have shampoo bowls in it. And the moment you understand that difference, everything about how a salon makes money and how it quietly loses money starts to make sense. Let's start with what kind of salon you're even building, because the price tag depends entirely on that choice. And it's a lot more complicated than rent a space and buy some chairs. There isn't one type of salon. There are several, and each one is really a different business wearing the same smock. At the bottom end, you have the low-cost chains, the $15 to $25 haircut spots that survive purely on speed, cycling a client through a chair in under 20 minutes, and making their margin on volume rather than price. Above that sits the traditional full-service salon, the kind with a color menu, a blowout bar, and a mix of walk-ins and regulars, usually charging somewhere between $50 and $150 for a cut and color service. Above that, the high-end salons in wealthy neighborhoods, which charge $200 to $500 or more for a single visit and sell you less of a haircut and more of an experience. Robes, sparkling water, a 2-hour appointment that feels like a retreat. Then there are the specialty studios, small spaces built entirely around one service extensions, lash and brow bars, blowout-only bars, charging premium prices for a narrow menu. And then the structurally different category, the booth rental salon, which doesn't really run a salon at all. It runs a landlord operation, renting individual chairs to independent stylists, who each operate their own mini business under one roof. Each of these is a different bet on the same underlying question. Do you make your money from a large number of clients, paying moderate prices quickly, or a small number of clients, paying a great deal for a slower, richer experience? That single decision shapes every other number in the business. Now here's where the naive mental model starts to break down. You think the expensive part is the chairs and mirrors. It isn't. The expensive part is turning an empty retail box into something that can legally and safely handle running water, hot dryers, and chemical fumes for 8 hours a day. A commercial landlord will usually ask for 3 to 6 months of rent up front, just as a security deposit before you've touched a wall. Then comes the build-out. Every shampoo station needs its own dedicated water line, drain, and hot water capacity, and retrofitting. An ordinary retail unit for this kind of plumbing costs $15 to $40,000. Ventilation is the next line item. Almost nobody budgets correctly because color perm solution and keratin treatments release fumes that building codes require you to exhaust properly, not casually vent through a cracked door. That upgrade alone can run $10,000 to $30,000, depending on the size of the space. Electrical capacity is another quiet cost. A row of blow dryers, flat irons, and processing lamps running simultaneously pulls far more power than a typical retail unit is wired for, and upgrading the panel can add another $5,000 to $15,000. Add the licensing, the salon itself, and every individual stylist needs separate cosmetology board licensing and inspection, chemical liability insurance, the opening marketing push, and a cash reserve to survive the slow first months. And even a modest mid-size salon can require $150,000 to over $500 just to unlock the front door. So far, so good. Now let's talk about what can go wrong. Equipment is the next trap, and it's a bigger one than people expect. A single professional styling chair costs $300 to $1,200. A shampoo bowl and chair combination runs $800 to $3,000. A real full-service floor needs 8 to 15 of these stations, plus color processing stations, hooded dryers, and retail display shelving, and the equipment bill alone for a mid-size salon can land anywhere between $40,000 and $150,000. Here's the decision that trips people up. Color inventory isn't a one-time purchase like a treadmill. It's a permanent, ongoing cost. Because professional color lines expire, and a salon has to keep dozens of shades stocked at all times whether or not a client books that exact shade this month. A typical mid-size salon carries $5,000 to $15,000 of color and chemical inventory on the shelf at any given moment, sitting there degrading whether it gets used or not. Neither the equipment nor the inventory decision is wrong, but whichever way you go, you've just locked in a fixed monthly drain that has to be paid, regardless of how many clients walk through your door that day. Now, location. This is the decision most first-time owners get wrong because they think a good location just means somewhere with a lot of foot traffic. It's more specific than that. A salon's client base draws overwhelmingly from within a 5 to 10-minute drive of the storefront, a tighter radius than almost any other retail business because people don't cross town for a routine haircut the way they might drive further for a specialized gym or a destination restaurant. Inside that radius, the income level of the neighborhood has to match your pricing exactly. A salon charging $300 for a single color service cannot survive in a neighborhood built around a budget income base, no matter how nice the finishes are. And visibility matters more here than for almost any comparable business, because a large share of salon clients are walk-ins or first-timers who simply noticed the storefront, not people who searched and booked in advance the way a gym member typically does. A high-visibility storefront in a major retail corridor can cost $30 to $100 per square foot per year in rent, compared to $12 to $25 in a quieter side street. And picking the wrong side of that gap commits you to a rent bill that requires a client base your neighborhood simply cannot supply. Now we get to the part of this business that actually explains everything else: the stylist and the chair picture. Two coin flips, except instead of heads or tails, imagine every stylist who joins your salon falls into one of two structures. In one structure, they're paid on commission, and every hour they sit without a client costs the salon nothing directly, but earns it nothing either. In the other structure, they pay you a flat weekly rent for that chair, whether they see one client or 15. Which of these two arrangements is more valuable to the salon owner? It depends entirely on one number, and this is the single most important idea in the entire salon business: booking density. The percentage of available chair hours actually filled with a paying client. Under commission, a stylist earning 40 to 60% of what they bring in means the salon's profit rises and falls directly with how full that stylist's book is. A stylist with a loyal base who rebooks every 6 weeks, like clockwork, is worth more to the salon than a stylist who sees twice as many one-time clients who never return, because rebooking rate, not raw client count, is what keeps a chair full without spending on marketing every single week. Under booth rental, the math flips entirely. The stylist pays a flat weekly rent, typically $150 to $500, whether their own book is full or empty. Here, an empty chair costs the stylist money and costs the salon owner nothing, because the rent is due either way. This is exactly why booth rental has spread so widely among salon owners in the last decade. It converts a business with unpredictable effort-dependent revenue into something closer to a subscription business. Guaranteed income arriving whether or not any particular stylist is busy that week. The owner stops thinking about how many clients walked in and starts thinking about one thing only: how many chairs are filled and renewed month after month. Think about the building itself the way you'd think about a gym floor. A salon with 15 chairs can never generate revenue beyond what 15 simultaneous appointments allow, no matter how many clients are on the books. Unlike a gym membership, a salon appointment slot that goes and used this Tuesday at 10 a.m. is gone forever. It cannot be resold once the hour has passed. This is the opposite of the gym's forgiving math, where an inactive member still pays every month with almost no cost to the business. In a salon, an empty chair hour is a hard permanent loss, which is exactly why booking density, not membership count, is the metric every serious salon owner watches obsessively. There's a seasonal wrinkle to this whole picture that's worth walking through, because it shapes the entire financial calendar of a salon. Wedding season, roughly May through October, and the 2 to 3 weeks before major holidays, especially the run-up to Christmas and New Year's, drive enormous spikes in bookings. Updo's color refreshes blowouts extensions. A well-run salon can see revenue climb 20 to 40% above its normal monthly average during these windows. But January and late summer are notoriously slow the same. Seasonal pattern gyms. See except in reverse the post-holiday and post-wedding. Lull leaves appointment books thin and stylists idle. Owners who get caught off guard are the ones who spend that December windfall as if it were a permanent, ongoing revenue level instead of the seasonal spike that it actually is, and find themselves short on cash by February, exactly when the slow season bites hardest. There's also a structural choice that sits underneath all of this. Whether to build an independent salon from the ground up or buy into an established franchise. A franchise gives you an already known brand name, standardized training programs, proven interior layouts, and often better pricing on color and product lines through corporate purchasing deals. That's valuable especially for a first-time owner, but it isn't free. Franchise agreements typically require an upfront fee of $20 to $50, an ongoing royalty of 4 to 8% of gross revenue paid back to the parent company every month, and often an additional contribution into a shared regional marketing fund. An independent owner keeps every dollar of profit the business generates. A franchise owner is permanently sharing a slice of the top line in exchange for brand recognition and a training system, which can be worth it, but only if the extra client volume that brand name attracts is large enough to cover what you're handing back every month. Now here's where the psychology becomes just as important as the math. Why do clients keep coming back to the same salon even when a cheaper option exists 2 blocks away? Part of it is trust built through repetition. A stylist who knows exactly how your hair behaves is a switching cost most clients won't casually pay to rebuild elsewhere. Part of it is the physical environment itself and salon owners designed for this, deliberately whether clients notice it or not. Soft, warm lighting near the reception and waiting area is chosen to feel calming and unhurried, while brighter, more clinical lighting sits directly above the styling mirrors, because clients need to see true color and texture, not a flattering glow when judging the finished result. Mirror placement is engineered to positioned, so a client can watch their own transformation progress in real time, which builds emotional investment in the outcome and makes them far less likely to interrupt or complain midway through a service. Retail shelving is placed deliberately near the checkout counter, not buried at the entrance, because purchase decisions for shampoo and styling product happen at the exact moment a client is admiring their finished look in the mirror, not when they first walked in with flat, unwashed hair. Even the music is chosen with intent. Calmer, slower tempo tracks in a salon reduce the perceived length of long chemical processing times. The 30 to 45 minutes a client sits with foils in their hair, which is a very different psychological problem than the gym's need for fast, energizing music to push through a workout. None of this is decoration. It's all aimed at the same target, keeping a client relaxed, trusting, and open to spending more during the exact window when they're most emotionally satisfied with the result. And salons know this, which is why the entire booking and cancellation structure of this business is built to protect chair time above almost everything else. No shows and late cancellations are the hidden tax on this business, and unlike a gym membership that keeps billing an inactive member for free, a salon typically loses 10 to 20% of its scheduled revenue to no-shows and last-minute cancellations, and that lost hour is gone permanently. It cannot be resold once the appointment time has passed. This is exactly why nearly every modern salon now requires a credit card on file before booking and charges a cancellation fee, often 50% of the service price for any cancellation inside a 24 to 48-hour window. It isn't about being strict for its own sake. It's about protecting the one perishable asset. A salon actually has an hour of chair time that evaporates the moment it goes unbooked. Before we get to what can go wrong at scale, there's a second layer of hidden cost that catches almost every first-time salon owner off guard, and it has nothing to do with scissors. It's the music again, but this time as a legal exposure rather than a design choice. Playing background music in a commercial space is not the same as playing it at home, and in the United States, any business playing music for customers is legally required to carry a public performance license and there isn't just one organization to pay. There are several performing rights organizations, each representing different songwriters and publishers, and a salon typically needs to be licensed with more than one simultaneously. The combined annual bill for these licenses can land anywhere between $1,000 and $3,500 a year for a single location. Skip this, and the exposure isn't small these licensing bodies send field investigators into salons, bars, and retail spaces specifically to check for unlicensed music and under federal copyright law. Statutory damages for willful infringement can run from $750 per song up to $30,000 per song, and as high as $150,000 per song if a court decides the infringement was intentional. A salon owner who assumes a personal streaming subscription covers the sound system has quietly taken on a legal risk worth far more than the license fee would have ever cost. That's a small example, but it points at the bigger lesson underneath this entire business. Almost none of the real costs are the ones printed on the equipment catalog. They're the ones buried in a licensing agreement, a lease clause, or a supplier contract. Nobody reads carefully until something breaks. And plenty of things do break. Heavy daily use wears down hydraulic chair pumps, shampoo bowl fixtures, and dryer motors far faster than a home salon setup ever would, and mid-sized salons typically budget somewhere between $800 and $2,500 a month just for ongoing equipment repair and replacement. Utility bills for a salon, running constant hot water ventilation and bright processing area. Lighting can run between $1,000 and $4,000 a month. None of these numbers are dramatic on their own. Stacked together month after month, they quietly eat into the exact margin the owner was counting on. Now let's talk about whether a salon built entirely on share-hour economics can actually survive at scale, because the honest answer is sometimes not. Meet Regis Corporation, once the largest hair salon operator in the world, running thousands of locations under brands like Supercuts and its own Regis Salons banner. On paper, the model looked unstoppable, a household name, standardized training, corporate purchasing power on every bottle of color. But over the following decade, Regis closed hundreds of underperforming company-owned locations and shifted its entire strategy toward franchising rather than direct operation. It wasn't that people stopped getting haircuts. It was structural. Too many individual locations never reached the booking density needed to cover their fixed lease and staffing costs, and no amount of brand recognition or corporate scale could fix a location where the underlying chair-hour math simply didn't work. A similar pattern played out with Regis's competitor, Ratner Companies, which operates the hair cuttery chain and quietly shuttered a significant share of its locations in the years following the pandemic, not because demand for haircuts vanished, but because remote work permanently thinned out the weekday foot traffic that many of its office district locations depended on. Here's the structural observation, because that's really the point of both of these stories. Neither of these companies failed because nobody wanted a haircut. They failed because the math connecting fixed lease costs, stylist retention, and actual booking density broke down in specific locations, even while the brand as a whole remained recognizable and trusted. A salon with a full parking lot on a Saturday can still be one bad lease and one thin weekday schedule away from closing its doors. So how does a salon actually make money in plain mechanical terms? Once it's past all of this, service revenue plus retail revenue minus stylist commission minus fixed costs. If a mid-sized salon has fixed monthly costs, rent, utilities, insurance, front desk staff, software, around $15,000, and an average commission-based stylist generates $6,000 a month in service revenue. At a 50% commission split, the salon keeps $3,000 per stylist per month before retail is even counted. That means the salon needs roughly 5 fully booked commission stylists just to break even. Below full booking density, the salon bleeds money every month because rent doesn't care how many appointments got canceled that week. This is where a second revenue stream becomes essential, and it's the one with genuinely strong economics: retail product sales. A bottle of professional shampoo that costs the salon $6 to $10. Wholesale can retail for $25 to $40, a markup most service businesses would envy. Industry data consistently shows that salons where retail makes up 10% or more of total revenue are meaningfully more profitable overall. Not because the dollar margin on one bottle is enormous, but because it's almost pure profit sitting on top of a service. The client was already paying for added with zero extra chair time cost. A stylist who recommends a $32 conditioner at the end of a color appointment is adding revenue that costs the salon almost nothing to generate. There's a similar ceiling-breaking logic here to the personal training model in gyms. A single stylist working purely one-on-one, booked back-to-back at an average ticket of $90. A service 8 services a day 5 days. A week tops out at a hard annual ceiling because there are only so many hours in a day and only so many days a chair can be occupied. The way salons push past that ceiling is by adding assistants who shampoo and prep clients, so the lead stylist chair hour is spent purely on the higher value color or cutting work, effectively squeezing more billable service out of the same 8 hours. The same logic a gym uses when it moves a trainer from one-on-one sessions into small semi-private groups to multiply revenue per hour without multiplying hours in the day. Now let's put all of this together and look at what actually happens over a full year, because this is where the two very different versions of this business reveal themselves. In the optimistic scenario, you've picked the right neighborhood, hit strong booking density on schedule, kept stylist, turnover low, built a healthy retail attachment rate, and layered in premium add-on services like extensions and treatments. Under those conditions, a mid-size independent salon can generate somewhere between $400,000 and $900,000 a year in revenue, with a net profit margin of 10 to 15%, translating to an owner take-home somewhere between $50,000 and $120,000 a year, a genuinely solid outcome for the work and capital involved. In the realistic scenario, 2 or 3 things go wrong that aren't exotic at all. They're the normal risks of this exact business. 2 or 3 of your best stylists leave and take a meaningful share of their client books with them. A lower-cost chain opens 2 blocks away and pulls price-sensitive walk-ins away with a cheaper menu. No-show rates creep upward during a slow season, and color inventory costs rise faster than you price services to absorb. Under those conditions, that same salon can slide from a comfortable double-digit profit margin into a single-digit margin or an outright loss during the quiet months, even while the waiting room still looks reasonably busy most Saturdays. The difference between those two outcomes in a single mid-sized salon can be well over $80,000 in a single year. And almost none of that swing shows up as a dramatic visible event. No fire, no scandal, just a slightly higher cancellation rate, a slightly thinner weekday schedule, and a slightly heavier product cost compounding quietly month after month until the number at the bottom of the spreadsheet looks nothing like the plan. So if you do decide to open a salon, remember, the one thing that actually determines whether you succeed. It was never really about how many chairs you can fill on a Saturday. It's about how well every chair in every quiet Tuesday morning hour keeps earning its rent.